Okay, we are online, so behave yourselves. And we are going to get started with a call committee update from Dick. Ba-da-ba-ba-dum. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. On behalf of the call committee, we want to thank you for the opportunity and the challenge of calling the next prospective pastor for our congregation. I want you to know that the members of the call committee are Cheryl Allen, Barb Breeze, Beth Hansen, Will Almendinger, Paul Harold, Mike Stelfenpole, and myself. And we worked very hard up to this point, understanding the MSP of our congregation, understanding, and I think that we have a very good feel for what we want or what we need for our congregation. Diane Gage said, before she left our church, she said the Holy Spirit has already knows who's going to be our next pastor, and it's our job and that pastor's job to get together to join into one. So that's pretty much what our focus is. We have actually been presented with two people so far. One we decided as a group probably would not fit here, and the second one we've interviewed via Zoom, which is the way that it's required that we do at the beginning. And we're still in the process of determining our next step with that person. The challenge that we're facing is a lack of candidates. We started this, that we were actually prepared to interview probably about a month ago. We've had two people presented to us, and we've not heard yet about any further candidates. We are going to be very, very patient. We're going to make sure that it's the right candidate and that we do a very thorough job in picking that person for us. The one ask that we would have from everyone in our congregation is for your prayers. We know that prayers work. We know that we have to be in the right frame to call the right pastor, and that pastor has to be in the right frame to accept and bring us both together. So that is our ask for you. So are there any questions that I can try to answer?
Do you have to do the interviews virtually?
Not at this point, we don't. The question was, do we have to release one before we'll be presented with another one? And at this point, we do not have to. We're just waiting. It's Pastor Asher that is a representative from the Synod, and so he will be presenting. I think after we interview the second time, and the second interview would typically be in person, we would then make a decision if we want to proceed further with that person or release them at that point. Other questions? Keith?
How big is the region that we're able to select from?
We're able to select from the entire country. So it's wide open. One of the things that we are looking at is how do we as a call committee get the word out to more people? And that's probably what our biggest focus is right now, and that's what we'll be working on. Other questions? Again, I guess what I would say, please pray for the call committee, please pray for our congregation, and please pray for the pastor that the Holy Spirit has already notified that they belong at this church. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
Yes.
So until they find somebody, you're stuck. Stop it. We have a plan for winter supply. While I'm gone, I leave the last Monday in December. And the 13 Sundays while I'm away will be covered by Pastor Rich Block and Pastor Sharon and Pastor Phil Bogan and Pastor Dan Sire. So those Sundays are all covered. And then, if Dick does not do his job, I'll be back when it's warm. Okay. When last we met, and it's been 3 months, let me bring you up to date. We had set 3 congregational priorities: vibrant worship, leadership development, and the third was? I'll get to it. So we've been moving on those priorities. One of the things we wanted to do with vibrant worship is have a worship experience that was warm from the parking lot all the way through into the space and into the actual worship service. We decided that we wanted to make the first 3 minutes and the last 3 minutes to be uplifting and get you into the mood of worship. I talked to Jonathan about, so we moved the announcements, for example. You've seen that we no longer do the announcements at the beginning of the worship. Boring, huh? So we do them kind of in the middle of the service, and we try to keep them very brief because I assume you can read. And almost everything we have to accent is already in the bulletin or has already been in the network. So we limit our announcements to 3. Ashley's protecting me from danger here. We limit our announcements to 3 and just kind of lift up what's already there for you in the bulletin. So that's been moved out of the entrance. When possible, we're asking the choir to open the worship service. So you get that more dynamic opening to us when we're starting worship. And either Jonathan or I, or both of us together, will announce the hymn. Where'd he go? I like that when we got to do a duet announcement this morning. I'm not sure that we're doing very well with the last 3 minutes. We're trying very hard to stay within 60 to 65 minutes. By and large, we've been doing that. Communion distribution, I think, goes exceedingly well. We've almost got that down to a science. We've tried to get rid of the pauses in the service. We're asking the in-home communion servers to get up right away. And then we're asking the ushers to come up before we're done passing the peace. So all that gets done without delays. They're not coming up to get plates anymore. They're keeping the plates in back. That saves us 45 seconds. I'll save a second wherever I can. That's 45 seconds more for me to preach. So we're working on making the service uplifting from beginning to end. I'm not sure that we got the last 3 minutes being inspirational. I guess that kind of depends on that song being a song that you can carry with you all day long. So we've been working on that worship service, and I'm going to tell you more in a little bit about how we do that movement from parking lot into sanctuary, into narthex, into worship space. Leadership development, we've got the Leadership Development Committee working. I don't know if you want to say more about that, Terry or Michael. We're online, so you got to use the microphone, and I don't know where I put it. La da 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 dum, dee 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 dee.
My name is Michael Johnson. I'm the chair of the ministry, Leadership and Development Ministry. And a couple of things that we've been working on lately are rewriting the Constitution so that we can restructure the church council so that it can be even more life-giving and spiritually uplifting than it already is. We're also working on, with Jonathan's help, thank you Jonathan, and thank you for your patience with me. We're working on using the tools that we already have for finding talent and finding people with the talent and then getting them connected with jobs and volunteer positions in the church. And we're trying to get that all online on our new platform that we're using. We have other things that we're working on constantly and continuously with the mission and the main objective of making sure that all of our ministries at St. Andrew have all of the people that they need and all of the resources that they need. Okay.
Thank you. So that's an ongoing emphasis. The other one that Mark wasn't very good about reminding me of is significant relational groups. I mean, we want to develop more and more relational opportunities for people to gather together in smaller groups. If there's one item that causes folks not to want to be that 575 at worship congregation again, it's the lack of intimacy. So large congregations make up for the less intimate larger church by making groups. We're trying to develop Sunday afternoon and evening to be a St. Andrew night, if you will. So when I start that Revelation study, I will be doing that from 4 to 5:30. There's supper from 5:30 to 6. There's worship from 6 to 6:45-ish. And we want to develop that whole evening. We're going to move all confirmation programming to Sunday night next September. My dream is to have a range of educational opportunities that evening. My dream is to have that be a youth gathering afternoon. You know, they come play basketball at 3, they do a service project at 4. Development of that will be in one of these other goals. So we're trying to develop relational groups, and we're trying to develop Sunday late afternoon after most Packer games. I don't have to say that as much here as I did at my congregation in Green Bay, but you still have to say it. People still wear Packer gear. Yeah, I see it. So that's part of what we're doing with relational groups. It's a work in progress right now. So that's what we're doing on those 3 areas of focus. I passed around a list of goals that I presented to the council, and they have graciously adopted. Worship attendance. I'm focusing on growing our worship attendance by 15% per year. It'll take us 10 years to get to the 575, but you make steps. Okay, 15% per year. If you all want to do 20, that's okay with me. But the goal is going to be 15. So we want attendance to rise by 18,000 in 2027. That's not just this service, but it's also the Thursday noon service and the Sunday evening service. Both of those have been doing well. We're getting 50 to 60 per week at those 2 services, so that's almost 25 to 30% of total attendance is going on those 2 off days. So if you're not here on Sunday morning, if you're on your way to Green Bay for the game, come Thursday noon. Or get out of the game before the end of the 4th quarter and get back for Sunday night. I know you leave anyway. So this says we're going to move confirmation instruction to Sunday afternoon. This says we got to do a better job with our online congregation. I've just never been used to an online congregation, and I'm trying to learn how we can serve that better, not just Sunday morning, but by doing YouTube and Facebook stuff during the course of the week. They should be able to participate in our adult education opportunities as well as just watch worship. So I'm trying to figure that out, and I need young people to help me do that. 2,600 people a year watch us online. It's not insignificant. Most of our attendance comes in what they call top 10 Sundays. Were you here for the mortgage burning day? That's a top 10 Sunday. Mother's Day is a top 10 Sunday. When we do faith formation stuff, gingerbread making, what are some of the other, Jonathan helped me develop the top 10. Fall luminaries, that brings people in. What's that? Pretzel Sunday, hot cross buns, church picnic, which happen to be the same. But there are 10 Sundays, and if we could develop 12 or 15 top 10 Sundays, that would help worship attendance grow anyway, because there are events that will draw people in other than just coming to hear Pastor Gary rag at him again. Okay, so we want to do more of those events. I've talked to a couple of you about doing a Veterans Emphasis Day in the second Sunday in November. We do a pretty good Mother's Day Sunday. We could do a Grandparents' Day. I think it's like the second Sunday in September. We could do a way better job with Father's Day than we do now. People want to picnic on Father's Day instead of go to church. Mother's Day, people want to go to church and then go out to eat. I mean, it's a whole different vibe. And how do we pull people in for that particular Sunday? We're going to do 750 people or better on Christmas. We're going to do 750 people or better on Easter. So we know what some of those are. The question is, can we develop 2 or 3 more top 10 Sundays? That's, yeah, I don't know which one. That's number 3 there. When do we add a service? I don't think that can happen unless you really go crazy with attendance. I don't think that's going to happen in the next 3 years. Even, what was my example here? Even if we go to 270 every week, that makes this a really full room. But if we divide that, it doesn't divide evenly. You know that from previous experience. So if you get 180 in one service, that's great, it feels good, but if you get 90 in the other, it's too small for this room and too big for the chapel. So you really you've got to be willing to crowd together for a little while until we have enough people to do 2 services where it doesn't feel empty. And 90 in this room would feel empty. Those of you who come for midweek Lent services, we run 90 to 100 people at that service, and we basically are just in this side of the room. So I think we have to wait for a little while before we're ready to do that, but I think it should be on the radar. Finance. I'm asking for 15% raises per year in the budget. Targets of 630. We're actually going to target above 630 for 2025. There's a lot of pent-up need that people have been waiting to do the ministry until we get through COVID, until we get through all this stuff, and we start doing stuff again. And all that pent-up need, poor Mark is back there. He's thinking about coming to the Lord. All that pent-up need is spewing forth because they've been given the freedom to dream. And when you're given the freedom to dream, you actually do it. And so when you get your letter next week, it's going to look a little bigger than 630, but it's because we've been waiting for a long time to start getting back to where we were. And this is what's happening this year. We're contributing 4% of our budget to benevolence. Come on, people. If we ask for 10 from you, we ought to give 10 ourselves. So I'm asking that be increased by 1.5% a year until we get back to 10. We spend little to nothing on marketing. I don't know if this made it into your budget, Mark. We need to put 2% of the budget into marketing. Let's blow our horn around the community. We commit about 60% of our budget to staff expense. Over time, that should be reduced. The ideal for a congregation like this is 50%. We're not going to make any progress toward that this year. Again, we're catching up from where we should have been several years ago. So don't look for any progress on that this year. Kids have always led their parents to church. It's always been the case. We want to boost youth programming by employing a youth program development director. I'm not going to put that on a business card. But the job for this person, probably a college student, would be to work for the 13 weeks of the summer and develop a youth program in two facets. One, get kids used to coming. Two, develop some adults who can keep that going after the summer's over. So this person has to be as comfortable working with adults and training them to be leaders as the person is comfortable with youth and getting them to start coming to a church youth group. It's a 13-week program for a college student. Hopefully by next September, we will have a vibrant, functioning youth program in this place. Back page, much easier. We need to turn the social concerns community loose on this community. They're about to change their name to Social Advocacy Ministry, which is good and describes what they do. They already, every Friday, staff the shelter downtown. They're doing the stuff for Open Door. They're doing the stuff for Lutheran World Relief. Nobody knows what they're doing. We need to turn them loose. We need to let them do the kinds of outreach that we want St. Andrew to be famous for. Leadership development, we talked about. Equipping the saints, we've talked about. Okay, one more thing. It's for you, what? Yeah. Yes, you return your homework by the end of the day. Kathy, Mark, come and get your own. I have more in case I was kind of stingy with them. You can be the repository. I presented several initiatives, 3 initiatives to the council. This is where I need 100 people. Ashley, they need more over here because I was stingy. Oh, Julie. Is there a Julie song I could sing? I think that'll be the anthem next week. Any questions so far? Or can we save them to the end? They need stuff over here. Jonathan? Yes. Limited term employee. 13 weeks. Okay, Lutheran term employee. Limited Lutheran term employee. Initiative number 1. I recommend that we conduct 40 cottage meetings, 25 people invited to each during May 2025. We can have face-to-face contact with 1,000 St. Andrew members. Whew. I have a schedule of meetings set up. I have 40 names on my iPad, and you might be one of them. If you volunteer, it'll go easy with you. So I need 40 hosts for those meetings. They can be held either in your home, if you don't mind having 25 people in your home, or they can be scheduled for the church. They should be scheduled for about 90 minutes. If you're going to be a host of one of these, and we need 40, there'll be an instruction session before the end of the year so you know what you're getting into. You will get names to invite from the office. We'll split the names up between more active and less active people because, as you know, we don't get 1,000 people at worship on Sunday. So there'll be a range of activity. And at these meetings, I will attend all the meetings if I'm here. If I'm not here, do you know of any better way to introduce a new pastor to the congregation than to put him or her in front of 1,000 of our members? So whether I'm here or whether a new pastor is here, this is one of the most influential things we can do for the future of the congregation. This is a way to activate folks and get them involved in this place. This is a way to give folks ownership of what we want to do here. 1,000 people. We won't get 1,000 people, but I'll be really happy with 750. So that all tells you about how we want to do that. If you want to volunteer to be a host and save me coming after you, that would be really nice. We need at least 10 weeks to prepare to make this happen. I want to have most of it ready and done by the time I leave at the end of December. Okay? Other side, initiative number 2. I recommend that we build an extensive program of faith formation opportunities on Sunday mid to late afternoons that will become the equivalent of a St. Andrew lay school. We'll employ the youth program development director. We've already talked about that. We're going to move confirmation to Sunday evenings. Do you know what it's like for a middle school kid to be in school all day and then have to come to church all night and behave him or herself? Rich, do you know what that's like? A little bit. It's like punishment for those poor kids. It's like punishment for Jenna. I've started doing it. I feel like I'm getting flogged. Actually, we've got a tremendous group of kids. So we want to move that whole program to Sunday evening. They won't have to, they'll be fresh. They'll have watched the Packer game. They can be outside and blow off a little steam. And we can still have our hour and a quarter with them for instructional purposes. I just think it's a whole better idea. When I was in confirmation in 1832, you get that recent, yes, I flunked out in the 1700s. Our class was on Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. I biked from home to church for that 9 o'clock confirmation program. Kathy's dad, I don't know how he did it. There were 40 of us in each class, 40 7th graders and 40 8th graders. The man is sainted. And I would have never spoken out of turn in his class because I would have gone straight to hell. I don't know how he did. Anyway, so that's initiative number 2, is to do that whole faith formation piece on Sunday afternoon. If you can come up with a clever name to call that Sunday afternoon into the evening initiative, let me know. I'm looking for a clever name. I haven't been able to come up with one. Initiative 3. I need 50 of you to be involved in Initiative 3. Volunteer now, and it'll save you time later. So the hospitality ministry that I have in mind puts 2 people at each door. So we have 6 people to start with. Have any of you ever been to Texas Roadhouse? Nobody? Ever? Never? What do they ask you when you're seated at Texas Roadhouse? Have you ever been here before? These 6 parking lot hospitality people will say, "Hi, I'm Gary. Welcome to St. Andrew. Have you ever been here before?" No. Fresh meat. In the event they have never been here before, we're going to have a couple volunteers at a hospitality table. We've already started reconfiguring the narthex. And whoever is out there, Jeannie, if you're out there and you find Mark, who's never been here before, you're going to take him by the hand and you're going to yippity-skippity into the hospitality table. With Mark? Oh, God bless you. And at the hospitality table, we're going to take his information. We're going to give him A gift. We got to figure out what kind of gifts. Am I echoing? Do I need to stand by Ashley so I don't echo? We're going to give a mug or a pen or a tote bag, or we're going to give some sort of gift that they can take home. And then we're going to take all their information so we can be in contact with them during the week. The person taking that information is going to give it to a hospitality visitor. And that afternoon, we're going to go to their home and bring them a loaf of banana bread, zucchini bread, whatever specialty bread you make. And we're going to say thank you for visiting St. Andrew with a gift at the door that afternoon. Okay? So if you're a baker, you're part of this 50. And then they're going to take that person in so they can sit with Karen. And Karen's going to tell them, you know, when we worship here, we don't even have to open our hymnal unless you want to follow notes, because everything's right there on the screen. And Karen, we had first-time visitors here today, and when I sat with them for a minute before the service started, they turned to me and asked if it was okay if they took communion. Karen's going to let them know that communion is available for all people in this place, and please join us. Karen's going to tell them that if they're coffee addicts, or even if they're not, we got really good cookies and coffee after the service, and she's going to take Mark by the hand, and she's going to hippity-skippity out to coffee hour, and she's going to sit him with Keith so that right away there's somebody for them to talk to and to meet. As we were talking to new members over the last couple of weeks about their experience here the first time they came, one of them said, the first time I came, it seemed like a very unfriendly place. There was only one person who spoke with me. I came back a second time, and I made contact with that person again. And then it started to open up. Huh? Because we don't know who's new and who's not. And that's going to get worse before it gets better. It's never going to get better. Huh? So we need to intentionally hook them up with a person who's actually going to talk to them and make them feel welcome. And then that will expand as they come back. Okay? So 3 steps: parking lot, hospitality table, zucchini bread bakers. What? Yeah. And worship, what do you want to call yourself? I worship Karen. And then coffee hour. Very thorough welcome to this place so that the largeness of this place doesn't overwhelm people. I need at least 50 of you. Okay, that's all I got. Questions, comments? Is the coffee still cooking? What do you want to know? Really? What? What did you say? Mark, we've got a comment down here.
I'm inspired.
See?
What's the comment?
Give him a raise. Just in case she's embarrassed to say it, I'll say it.
50% of 0 is 0.
Sit back down. Okay, that's all I have. We're going to be asking for lots of help in order to get as much of this in progress by the end of the year as we can. That's a very short time, but we can do all of that good stuff. I see it in your faces. You're smiling. Oh, yes. You may. Do you want a microphone? Da, 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 dum.
I didn't get this into Joy for this week, but you know Ruth Potman is the leader of the group that does the Friday night service, the Friday night at the shelter. We're having a Saturday cleanup day at the shelter on November 2nd from 10 until 2. The guests will not be there. Our plan is to do, we've got a whole bunch of stuff planned. There's an inventory of the mezzanine, which is an area of the Community Partners campus that most people may not have seen, but that's where we keep some of our extra stuff. We're getting a whole bunch of winter donations, and we need to go through and sort those donations. There's some touch-up painting that needs to be done. Green Heck was there a couple weeks ago and did a whole bunch of painting, and so they need some help doing a little touch-up. Next week, there'll be a sign-up sheet in the back. So the plan is that you can come in, do what you might like to do. We're opening these up to confirmation age and above. As I said, the guests will not be there because we kind of need the space to do a lot of sorting of a lot of stuff. And that's it.
What time? 10 till 2. No, I'll give somebody else the mic. My pianist.
I just want to thank Pastor Gary for hanging in here with us, and I think he's doing excellent.